Hello there. Before we begin with this topic, this video was written and edited as Update 8.4 was in its beta stages. I am not sure where Blade and Sorcery is right now, but at the moment we are waiting for the official release of 8.4. That being said, I should also mention that this video was brought to you by my Priest of Nope, Saba Karim, and my two High Priests, 7HNL and Disco and Haze. If you too would like to access my videos early and ad-free, as well as other perks like behind-the-scenes content, you can find a link to my Patreon page in the description below. Thank you once again to Saba Karim, 7HNL, and Disco and Haze. So, the armor update. Love it or hate it, it's pretty much here to stay unless you play solely in the sandbox mode, which at the moment is the only mode. I didn't like this update at first because of the god-awful optimization that the game still suffers from. Over time, I did appreciate it. This feature allows players to strategize how to attack an enemy. It's pretty cool, but I see one problem with it at the moment. Bludgeoning weapons are the new meta. That's a bold claim, but currently there is no downside to using a blunt weapon. The weight is pretty easy to get past, and as long as you're swinging at least aimed toward your opponent in at least a 90-degree arc, you're going to hit them. If it's a headshot, they're likely to get disarmed or even knocked over. As you can imagine, this makes for not only poor gameplay but also easy combat. The more heavily armored the enemy, the harder it'll be for bladed weapons to penetrate or even damage them. Shields negate pretty much all damage attempts, even blunt weapons, but I do not see many that I can't get past. This would be much harder if the enemy turtles and does not attack at all, but there are no drawbacks to being entirely offensive either. Eventually, the AI will make a mistake. There isn't a penalty on getting parried either. You don't get knocked back or even staggered. You even have the option of kicking and dealing damage if your swing doesn't. Speaking of, kicks are broken right now. Kicks have always been subject to being far too powerful, but this is just ridiculous. I'm not entirely sure what is causing this, but I hope Cosby the Baron or any of the other Warp Frog teams see this. Yes, of course, Blade and Sorcery is a pretty campy and sandboxy game, in the best possible way I can put that. This seems a little much. I do not know of a single man on the planet who can kick that hard. That's like the force of a car hitting someone. Personally, I am about 6 feet. My character is about 5'6" because Oculus can't measure me properly. And no way can he kick that hard. I can't even do that, and I've played quite a bit of soccer and kickball in my youth. I'm sounding more and more like a boomer every day I exist. To be fair, I'm not entirely sure how to make the kick balanced. I'd suggest maybe lower the damage it does and the knockback even. Obviously, you'd boost it during focus, because this is still hilarious. Back to bludgeoning weapons. Equipping so much as a buckler and any mace is basically cheating on the later waves. All weapons are equal in my eyes, but I have a special place in my heart for swords, especially long swords. I don't want to feel limited in terms of which weapons I should use. It's why the longsword is my main weapon in Mordhau. It's pretty much the ultimate jack of all trades, master of none. I get both bludgeoning and bladed combat, and the reach is just enough for me. I do not get that in Blade and Sorcery. The longsword is built solely for bladed combat. It works well against those with lighter armor, but it's much harder to land awesome kills with it now. Also, comment section, I will not be turning off the armor. I absolutely refuse to do that. Earlier, I mentioned getting disarmed or knocked down when landing a head hit with a bludgeoning weapon. Well, because the AI is a bit weird and clunky, about 40% of the time they just leave. This boosts my honor, yes, and likely garners me more XP, but it's also boring. You also have to wait for a while so they can get up and fight you again, and by the time that they do, the bloodlust has already disappeared. All in all, I do like this armor update, but the bladed weapons need some love. There's so many now, and the total of 3 blunt weapons, aside from the staffs, but if we include those, we may as well include the quiver too. Now being the most viable option just feels a bit backwards. I love how the armor works, and the variations having different perks is really cool. I just think there should be a change in that the armor breaks down after a while. That probably requires a lot of time to code, however. I wouldn't know, I don't make video games for a living. I don't even expect this feature to be in the game in general, but it would be really cool to see this implemented somehow. There should be at least some kind of option for those who use bladed weapons other than turning off armor and doing the easy waves. And there's my likely unwanted opinion on the bladed and bludgeoning combat in Blade and Sorcery. What do you think of this issue? Should more bludgeoning weapons be added to the game? I certainly think so. Do you think there is a hope for bladed weapons in the future? Let me know in the comments down below, and please be civil. As always, liking the video helps get this out to more people and engages others to think about this topic as well. Of course, subscribing keeps you up to date on my awful schedule, and ringing the bell ensures you have a notification, most of the time. That will be it from me for now. Have a lovely day, and don't forget to drink water. I did a poll about whether or not you'd like me to do commentaries on the current states of battle. Did I seriously just read Blade and Sorcery as Battlefront 2? My god.